Welcome to our Galactic Alchemy podcast.
Whether we're exploring intuition, healing, or higher guidance, you are invited to tune in, not just with your ears, but with your heart and your energy.
I'm Anita, and I work with soul-aligned leaders, visionaries, and healers to restore energetic coherence, awaken truth, and reconnect to the intelligence of the heart.
I'm Azriena, and I do very similar work to Anita through a different modality. I also work with integrating your multidimensional selves in a process I call soul alchemy.
This podcast is a space for deep connection, for attuned conversations that clear distortion, awaken soul gifts, and return us to the frequency of who we really are.
So let's get started. When I came across you and your work, Anita, it feels like I found a safe landing space. So I take great comfort in that, and I take great comfort in listening to the conviction that you have in what you do, because it feeds into my sense of assurance as well when I'm doing what I do. So I think, Anita, as we just stepped into the 3rd of February today, maybe what are some of the big themes you feel that are coming up for you globally, maybe universally, galactically? What are maybe some of the highlights that maybe we can share with the listeners that's also going to benefit them, maybe as a sort of preparation, maybe as a sort of expectations, and maybe just to also provide some comfort as we go on with the rest of the year?
Thanks, Az. That's really beautifully put. So this year, we've just come through this full moon energy in the last 24 hours, and it's created a very big emotional shift. I've had people reaching out asking, what do I need to do to align and to optimize 2026? And the biggest thing I can think of right now is coming into that stillness, like being able to sit in the awareness that all the answers you seek are within you. And when I hear people say, I'm really not sure, it's an opportunity to pause and say, well, I trust myself, and I know that I probably do know the answer to this if I can give myself enough space to listen to my body. So being able to go into stillness, breathe, relax, don't put pressure on yourself, and just lean in and listen to whatever your body's telling you. So this year is about in Chinese New Year, we're celebrating the fire horse year. And this is about really finding your stride, moving forward with ease, moving forward quickly. Actually, there's a lot of momentum around this year. There is such resilience and courage this required this year. So being able to step in and in the face of anything that's coming at you, to be able, and I'm not saying adversity, because it's just, sometimes there's just a lot going on in your world, but being able to step into that and say, whatever it is, just for today, I'm going to meet it head on. I'm going to be present. I'm not going to push myself too hard, but I am going to allow myself to be seen. I'm going to step into my voice, my strength, my power, and make sure that I'm living as authentically as possible. And I think sometimes people think the word authentic is quite a heavy word. It just means showing up and being you. So one of my big tools that, I've been using for the last couple of weeks quite a lot is just saying to people, here's your homework for the next 30 days. I want you to say no to anything that's not exciting, if it's not a hell yes, then it's a hell no. And if it's not something that you really feel conviction about, just recognize it for the next 30 days. It's okay to say no to it, and recognize that when you say no, you're giving another person an opportunity to step in and help the person who's asking you for help. So be aware that it's not your job to be all things to all people. And if you can just claw back a little bit of me time, a little private time, and being able to just be in nature, go for a walk, do something that's really pleasurable, what you'll find is every cell in your body starts to relax. And this year, if you want to be aligned and you want to move forward with this ease and grace, and you want to create the momentum around your work or your relationships or your abundance, it's going to require your alignment. It's going to require you really knowing who you are and what you want. And you don't have to have all the answers, but you have to know what you're willing to accept and what you're willing to step away from. And sometimes I hear people say, oh, I have to do this for this person and that for another person. And if I was going to be very brave and bold, I'd say to you, how much of that do you actually need to do? And how much of it is the busyness that distracts, the body from actually being able to be still and say, what do I really want? Because we're not always given permission to lean in and just be who we truly are. And we're always trying to make sure that we're showing up for friends and showing up for family. And that plays into those long narratives about people pleasing and perfectionism and ego and, then needing to do shadow work. And I would just say, just pause for a minute and just for 30 days, say no to anything that you don't feel aligned with. And when you do that, you might even be surprised at the fact that some of the things you naturally quickly say yes to hold no resonance for you, don't excite you. And once you let go of them, you actually start to feel this relief flooding through your body. So in a year of the fire horse where everything is going to move very, very quickly, and there's a lot of heat and passion around things, this is also a moment to be, in the stillness of that momentum and to look around and recognize that you're in charge of everything that you're doing. You're in charge of the speed at which you move. You're in charge of the quality of your relationships. So if anything is not fulfilling, if anything is not measuring up, or you're not getting the results that you want, in the wildness of 2026, it's the stillness that will support your goals and help you to really come into full alignment with who you truly are. What about you, Az? I mean, the work that you're doing is profound. I've done some sessions with you and we've had conversations about the work that you do. What are you seeing for 2026? What do you think people need to know to be really on their game?
There is a real momentum that has built up leading into this year. And even in the earthly timeline that we've read, maybe from other intuitives as well, it said that from 2026 to 2030, there will be, we are riding through this big giant wave that's sweeping Earth and also galactically. One of the first things that stood out to me when you were sharing your thoughts about this year, to me, is that sense of personal sovereignty and authenticity. It's going to be one of the key themes, I feel, for all of us. I remember last year when I was refining some of the copy on my website, this phrase stood out to me really prominently, and it is, "You are the one you've been waiting for." And there was so much power beneath that one sentence. And what I love actually is it is stripped free of ego. It is not a self indulgent proclamation saying that, oh, it is me and I'm the best and I don't need anyone, I'm better than anyone else. No, in fact, I feel it is a journey of ascension, like it's taking us back inside as we are ascending from the inside and we're stepping into the acknowledgement that a lot of this is up to me. I have been put here, I have come back here, I'm leading this life on earth right now with the soul understanding, awareness, and codes that I'm here to experience a certain something and be of service in a certain way and do things in a certain way and obviously have the experiences with the people we meet. So I feel that that's a bigger and bigger realization that will be wonderful for people to step into, because we also have seen a rise in mainstream proliferation of healing techniques, things like sound healing, life coaching. People are stepping into it, I would say, at a younger age than the past generations have. It is becoming like a real mainstream thing. And with the greater awareness of a wider awakening amongst us, there are also sometimes certain pitfalls, or maybe just a certain discernment is needed as we are navigating these spaces. And I think with the journey of most people, right? As we are navigating this space towards our own spiritual well-being, mental and health well-being, we tap into maybe different modalities, different teachers, and different this and that. And then sometimes over time, we realize that, oh, maybe that one wasn't, I didn't feel too good coming out of that one, or maybe I realized that one wasn't okay for me, or maybe that one only worked for a certain period of time. And I feel this is all part of the journey. But discernment is a key thing. And discernment, I think, links back to us knowing that at the end of the day, we know we are the one we've been looking for. It's not the next person outside, the next teacher outside. No, they're here to support us. Let's not that erode a sense of understanding and acknowledging that we have what it takes within ourselves to chart the path ahead with the right tools, with the right people, and the support that can come around us. So I think that is one of the biggest things and realizations that I've had for myself, which I think could be useful for all of us to ponder about, and maybe take it with us as we move forward in this, especially next 4 years.
I think that's really powerful, actually, because what you've just tapped into is the fact that in order to come into stillness, we need to be able to soothe and calm, all the voices, the energy, the nervous system, the endocrine system. We've got to calm everything down. And in doing that, we create a toolkit. And, we both tap into that. And you've just mentioned all the different modalities that have, proliferated in the last couple of years and become really quite mainstream, like, sound healing and singing bowls and all these things, and, color work and energy centers and chakra work. And what's interesting about that is you're 100% right. Not all of these tools work for everyone. If you're someone who's really tactile, then you're going to need something that really feeds your nature, right? And some people will really respond to, fasting and being out in nature, and other people, they need to be somewhere really soft and gentle and quiet, and they'll go into a meditation and they'll sit inside, maybe the womb chakra, which is, one of your specializations. And if they can sit inside that womb chakra energy and really breathe into that space in the body and feel the resonance of that oxygen, that clean, fresh oxygen in the womb chakra, it's so interesting how just thinking about that is able to just calm your entire body. And all of a sudden, you start to have inspiration and little images or thoughts pop into your head. And now you're getting solutions to questions that you'd been stuck on earlier. And so when you say all of the answers and everything that we need is within us, and it just comes back to us to claim our sovereignty and stand in our power, it seems like a really simple thing to do, but we're so scheduled and we're so busy and we're so obligated to people to show up and be a certain way and, be there by a certain time. And there's so many things that we pack into our day and we call it a very full life. And the truth is often, we're less productive than we think we are. So what I love about the work that we're both invested in, it's slowing things down a little and just doing a little less, because do it with a little more care and a little more finesse and a little bit more consciousness. And when you do, the quality of what you're producing in your day is amplified. And when that happens, for you and I've seen it, it has this ripple effect where you literally see the people around you start to calm down as well, and they start to feel soothed by often just, the fact that someone's paused with them in a moment and has just, held their hand or given them a tool or explained something to them in a way that's really subtle and gentle. And that's, it's so calming and relaxing and soothing to be around people who are invested in really listening to what you've got to say, and they're really responding to the truth of what you're saying. And what I love, that you've just brought up is, it's a 4-year cycle. And in the grander scheme, it's a 20-year, 5-year fire cycle. So being able to see the patterns in the way the universe is delivering energy to us and optimizing that so we don't have to work so hard. If this is fire energy, this year, then we can get those projects moving and we can speak to people and we can put ourselves out there, and we recognize that being seen in visibility this year, which is one of the big reasons we're launching this podcast today, is this is the key to really having that positive impact that we're looking for this year. But in doing so, we're really going to have to make sure we're staying hydrated, drinking a lot of water, maybe wearing something that's a soft blue, or if you're wearing jewels or gems, you're wearing an aquamarine or clear quartz, or something that just helps your nervous system to know that there's, for the yin and the yang, for the fire, there's a little water. We're going to try and balance everything out so that we don't become, parched and run down and dehydrated. So balance will be a really big key to this year.
I'm just going to be boldly jumping in about the topic of aquamarine, Anita, because we've had a couple of conversations around this and why this has just came out for us recently. If that's okay with you, I'm going to jump straight into it.
I love it. I am actually wearing my aquamarine for today's podcast because I wanted to bring some of that energy into.
Perfection. So I think for the benefit of our listeners, during my daily meditations, there is a lot of downloads I get from the galactic space. And I would say that sometimes when you symbols, sacred symbols, colors, or the energies that came in with these colors as part of the quality of these colors, they do surprise me, because as Earth ascends and as I get deeper in my own practice and my own, path and journey, newer and newer qualities of these elements reveal themselves to me. And I think more than anything, it is a connection in frequencies and vibration. So it's not like something too woo-woo or that doesn't make sense, even in a very kind of quantum physics level. Like, this is just what it is. It's the matching and connecting of these frequencies. In the last few weeks, I had a dream about swimming in the Lemurian waters. I do have very, very vivid dreams all the time, but this is the first time that involves Lemuria and swimming in the waters that I would say vividly. And then, not long after that, I started connecting with the shades of aquamarine in my meditation, my own morning meditation. I was playing with it. I'm like, wow, why is this shade of aquamarine coming in? And it feels gentle. I do my best to set up my space, my internal space, my external space, to make sure that the energies that are connecting with me is clean and sovereign. So I was very sure of that. And I was playing with that. I then realized, yes, this is part of the energy of Lemuria, because it is soothing. It feels liquid water plasma light in terms of its sensation. And then I would say just a few days after that, I read a post by another cosmic seer teacher that I deeply respect, Judith Cusel, and she posted literally these words: aquamarine is the color of the new earth. Or is it a 5D earth? I can't specifically remember. But from then on, the next time that came to me again was in the meditation that you led, Anita. Aquamarine came in so strong, and it was enveloping me like a cling film in the meditation, but without a sense of suffocation. I felt like I was being marinated. It was infusing me with all of these energies, and then I saw myself in another multidimensional aspect of my existence in another star system, and it was that color as well. And when we came out of that meditation, I saw that you had exactly the same shade of earrings. And I think what's important was yesterday we shared about how, I think it was your revelation when you said, because the horse, this fire horse here, is so fast and it's raging through, and the water element is actually what's lacking this year. This is also what we learned from a Chinese astrology workshop that we went to just a couple of weeks ago. And this aquamarine is what represents the water element. So if there's anything maybe I would like to leave our listeners before the end of our podcast today, is that maybe start playing with this color as you go through your day, maybe in your daily reflections or meditations. Play with it and have a sense of what it does for you, because I feel this is one of those colors that's going to be a good tool for us this year. And then, Anita, earlier on, you were talking about being in the womb space as well. So I just want to just go back to that quickly. When you were mentioning about the womb chakra, the womb healing, I just felt waves and waves and waves of goosebumps and energy just washing over me. So I feel like that is probably a good one, maybe for us to share in a deeper way, perhaps in another episode, unless you maybe want to touch on a little bit on the three-eye atlas and the three-eye chakras. I will leave that in your court for now.
I was just thinking exactly the same thing. I think before we end today, it's really important just to refer back to that because, we're calling our podcast the Galactic Alchemy. And the truth is, there was a huge shift in consciousness back in, September, October, November of 2025. And what we saw was, it was interesting to watch. The news broadcasts were talking about Three-Eye Atlas, this comet that was tearing through the night sky. And as it came in, I was listening to different podcasts and people were talking about, their ability to be able to channel and hear messaging from this particular comet. And I thought, this is interesting because, again, when we come into stillness, we are always communicating with our environment. So whether it's you're in nature and you stand next to a tree and you feel the strength of that tree, or you're by the water and you feel something stir emotionally within you and it reminds you of something that's important to you and maybe a little ancestral, or maybe it's a little spiritual or emotional. And the ability for your environment to consistently inform you as to where you need to be and what you're doing. So I thought it made perfect sense to sit in stillness in a meditation and make a connection with Three-Eye Atlas. And the energy that came through was, it almost felt like an electric soft pink energy, and it had like a warm orange and then a golden tinge around it. And I was thinking, it feels electric, it feels galactic, it feels like something so important and valuable. And the messaging I was receiving was almost this playful energy of, we're letting, as the Three-Eye Atlas moves through that night sky, the galactic's, energy of that, it tore through the fabric of our timeline. And it was, so from an Akashic record perspective, what I saw was the old timeline was being torn away. And what was actually happening was this new timeline was being laid, almost like a new golden strand or golden thread of light moving through the galactic sky and embedding these new codes for the new timeline. So I really felt very much that there was an absolute, line drawn in the sand where what's done is done. All of that past life karmic expression that we've been dealing with for the last, 40 or 50 years or maybe, longer, that time is done. And we're not looking backwards anymore. We're now very, very present. And the more present we are, the more we're able to really tap in and receive the gifts available to us from the universe. But what we're also doing, and this is something that, as I think we'll be doing a lot more of this year, is we're going to be tapping into, future self and being able to speak to that aspect of our spirit and our soul that exists within our soul blueprint that is an expression of future self, and being able to sit in the warmth of being able to really feel another aspect and dimension of self and receive energy, healing, messaging, guidance, and not so much in a way that, I'm going to tell you where to be on a certain date so you can buy a certain ticket and, win the lottery or anything like that. That might happen for people, but, that's not what I'm talking about. It's about recognizing that future self has this message for you. And more often than not, it's being able to sit in that space and just feel supported, know that there's so much more going on than what we're perceiving with our ears and our eyes, and being able to tap into that other dimension of self. And that's why we need really great mentors and teachers around us, because there's a lot of people out there right now who are catching this wave, and they want to share what they're learning with you. And I would really ask everyone to pause for a minute and sit in the spiritual maturity of not rushing into anything. Like, really sit and get to know yourself so well. Know your inner voice, know where you're being pulled, know what's you, and know what's actually just the environment pulling you, and being able to discern between what's right for you and what isn't. I think there's a lot of momentum this year around people who've got these quick fixes and quick ideas to help you spiritually upgrade and step into another dimension. And the truth is, whilst it's all possible for you to do that, and it's probably even easier than you think, especially if you're new to this kind of thing, you have to do it with people who practice integrity, they practice discernment, and they really want to be of service, because they really feel a calling to show up and do this kind of work. And when you're around those people, you'll feel it, and you'll feel very safe. And I think that's a really important thing for spiritual mentors and teachers to do, is to make sure they're creating a very safe space for people, and they're not taking anyone's sovereignty away from them. They're not telling them this is what you have to do. I think the idea of a really good mentor or teacher, they're bringing you back to being present in your body and asking you, what are you hearing? What are you feeling? What are you sensing? And then in holding space for them, especially if you're very spiritually inclined, you're going to hold space for them, and you're going to help them to just reveal a little bit more of what's going on a cellular level, and then how that plays out on a spiritual level, and then how that connects galactically to what's happening to all of us. So, in 3i Atlas, tearing through the night sky and tearing through the fabric of time and removing the old timeline and bringing in this new timeline, we have a chance to really step in to our power and to really make conscious choices that are rich and rewarding, and they feel right. And I think that's a really big barometer, is, how do you feel? And when you walk away from someone, if you're not feeling better, if you're not feeling good, then you want to pause for a minute and ask you, why were you in that space? How does it serve you? Is it right for you? And can you give yourself permission to walk away from it if it's not nurturing or nourishing? It's like eating junk food. You've got to make sure that this spiritual information that you're imbibing is positive and healthy and rich, and it's filling you up. And that's how you expand your consciousness. That's how you delve into greater intuition. And that's how you communicate more clearly with the universe. You give yourself permission to do it, but it's absolutely a journey. And, coming back to 3i Atlas for a minute, when it went past Venus, and we all felt this huge shift within us. I love the way science, astrology, mainstream media, everyone's starting to see that the narrative here needs to be explored. Everybody's leaning in, and I think that's a really healthy thing. But like all new energies, new timelines, there's a period of education and learning, and I think that's what this podcast is really about. We're going to take you on a journey where you get really comfortable with that aspect of yourself that we would call spirituality, intuition, consciousness, and, move away from, terms that are overly woo-woo, which is, I think maybe some people will find that laughable, because 3i Atlas, which is a comet, by the way, even some of the discussions around that, they can sound woo-woo, but if you can actually just sit and listen to the language, what you'll find is it makes a lot of sense. If we're moving into this new timeline, then we're letting go of the past. That means we're letting go of drama. That means that, these disruptors that we're seeing showing up politically, globally, each one of them is playing a role in stripping something back and making you look at it and say, where am I in this conversation? How comfortable am I? Am I ready to really trust myself and recognize that these systems that we're used to, they're not working anymore. They're fundamentally breaking down. With more clarity comes more awareness and more choice. And, if we want to create this positive shift in the world, then we do it with our own choices. So when you go out today and you're standing in nature, and I know as you're so brilliant at this, just stand in nature and be really present and breathe and feel that oxygen moving into your body, and then go into the part of the body that maybe has been a little neglected lately, and just sit with it and just tell her you love her, or tell him you love him. It's so interesting to me that when you speak directly to your body, if one cell does the job of every cell, then every cell in your body is listening to every single thing that you say, every promise you make to yourself, everything you think no one else can hear. Your body's listening. And you have an opportunity to pour love on your body and say, I love you. You're amazing and you're doing a great job. And I'm here for you. I'm excited. What do you think, Az? Do you have anything you want to share with us?
I think it's very, very pertinent when you mention that, especially towards the end of 2025. There was another momentous shift. And aside from my own life experiences, where I've witnessed this is through client sessions. So, in a nutshell, I do very similar work to Anita, perhaps in a different format or modality. When you step into my physical space, I call it sometimes like a cosmic spa. We start off.
I love that. It's so good.
So I'm now going to find a way to take this experience online. So we'll see. That's something I'll be working on this year. So right now, I get clients coming in physically into, I would say, the cosmic spa, the healing temple I've set up at home, guide them through proclamations, meditations, and we do exactly what Anita just said. We talk to the cells in our body, we take it inward. So it's not like an external ascension. It's also inscension, doing it from the inside, right? Stepping into our sovereignty. Where it gets really galactic and expansive is when my clients lie on the healing bed and I just hold space for their multidimensional selves to come in, for their higher guides, their higher aspects to come in. And what I've noticed, especially since the last quarter of last year of 2025, oh my goodness, what I've witnessed in client sessions, including yours, Anita, was beyond anything I've ever experienced myself. Higher and higher aspects are coming through, and these are, I would say, powerful souls who given me the honor to hold space for them. I was just astounded at the level of clarity of the guidance that came through, and I would say just the caliber and the gravitas that these souls carry. It was a very eye-opening moment for me to see that, yes, indeed, we are living in some very, very special times on earth, and we are not here for no particular reason. It is not random. And like Anita was saying, always try to take a moment with ourselves through the busy lives we lead or the busyness that we may just create in our mind. Connect back inside when you can. Play with the aquamarine color if you feel that it resonates with you at this point in time. And also maybe just simply ground. Drink your fluids and ground your feet to Mother Earth, because as we are ascending and ascending, so is she. We are all part of the system, part of the cells of the great big Mother Earth, and nothing is by accident. So my hope as well as we go forward with the upcoming episodes of this podcast is to be a friend, be a partner in this journey of ours. Also to be in the highest, most loving service I can be. What I learned, what I experienced, I will share, and may it be nuggets or tools or revelations that our listeners can take away with them. That would be my hope.
Beautiful.
So I think maybe, Anita, on that note, perhaps we could say goodbye to our listeners for now, and maybe even get their feedback for them to let us know maybe what are some of the things they would perhaps like to hear, what they would like to find out more about, what would they like us to kind of peel back or deep dive into in the future.
I think that's a great idea, because when we're talking about the work that we're doing, I'm having flashbacks to the session I did with you. And, it would be really wonderful for us to be able to take our audience, our listeners on the journey of what it's like to be inside that session with you. And, you know, my personal experience was so visual and vivid, and, you know, it tapped into past life, it tapped into future codes, it tapped into some things that were going on, you know, in the present moment. And I came out of there so renewed and excited and joyful, and I really felt something profound had shifted within my body. And I think that's something that's important to know, that, you know, there's only so much you can do for yourself. At some point, it's really nice to just go and be in the hands of someone who is really experienced, they know what they're doing, and just go on the journey. Allow yourself to have the experience of someone else who's really powerful, holding space for you, someone with high integrity, and then allow that energy. It'll move through your body. It's extraordinary. I think you spend the next, you know, week on a high because you just feel so good. But at the same time, your body is recalibrating, and it's allowing yourself to come into just a slightly higher state of being. And that's a gift when someone does that for you. And when they do it with the level of expertise that you show, it changes your life, and it can be a subtle transformation, but it will influence the choices that you're making. So, and I think that's the other thing people need to know. You know, we don't dabble in energy. We don't do that, because energy is very, very powerful, and you need to be with someone who really respects energy, and our work really does. And that's why it's powerful. The feedback that we get is really positive, which is what prompted us to start this podcast. We thought we need to share the tools that we're using, but also the experiences we're having. And the big thing you and I are always amazed at is how, you know, you might be reading something that, you know, Judith Kussel has published, and I'm reading something, and then all of our experiences begin to dovetail together, and it just becomes richer, and it's really exciting to be in the conversation and to see, you know, what's being revealed and, you know, unveiled for all of us. I'm excited about the subject matters that we're going to cover this year. They're going to be rich. They're going to be fun. They're going to be a little out there. And if we can get feedback from the audience and respond to any of the questions you have, you know, we're both really invested in showing up for you and giving it everything we've got. So, you know, this is a safe space for you, this podcast. We're going to take you on the journey. We're going to share as much as we can and bring on Galactic Alchemy. I'm excited for it.